Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new podcast here on ArsenalAura. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great time wherever you are. My name is Michael, and I'm here to talk about Arsenal. Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new episode of the podcast here on ArsenalAura. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. And thank you for tuning in and thank you for listening. I want to start today's episode by saying thank you to Lucy, Sheila, and Tara for your support, and also to let you know officially that if you ever want to join the podcast, you're welcome to do so. So today on the pod, we have a guest. He's a London-based Arsenal supporter for over 30 years and a former grassroots 11-a-side coach. I'll add his social in the description of the pod. He's that Arsenal guy on Bluesky.social, also known as Joe. Hello, Joe, and welcome to the pod. How are you doing today?
Hello, Michael. Thank you very much. Honor to be here. I'm doing pretty good today. Thank you very much. How about you?
Yeah, all good, all good. I was struggling a little bit with some technicalities, but now everything is good. So, Joe, before we start going into the international break and all that, I just wanted to say a big happy birthday to Mikel Arteta. Yes, today is Mikel's birthday. He's 43 years old. I'm sure he'll never listen to this podcast, but who knows, stranger things have happened. Maybe he wants to listen to a pod while running on a treadmill or taking a barbecue, whatever. You never know, but yeah, happy birthday, Mikel. Now, going back to what happened, we had a couple of weeks. We still have, but we've been in an international break and Arsenal players were involved, obviously. So let's go through some of their performances. So, Joe, did you manage to watch any games during this international break?
Yeah, I managed to see Miles Lewis-Skelly scoring on his debut, which is incredible. And I caught up with the game a few days ago now. I forget who was it against, the England match?
I think Albania.
Albania, that was it.
Albania,
yeah. Another incredibly strong performance from him. So I saw Odegaard as well, Nanieri, even like the Max Dowland goal from I think yesterday. Yeah, we're on fire on the international stage at the moment.
Yeah, you're right, and of course, I think the main player or the main guy at this moment in time is Miles Lewis-Skelly, right? He had an incredible journey. This kid, in the past 6 months or so, he, got into Arsenal's first team. He played in the Prem, then he played in the Champions League, then he scored in the Prem against Man City. Then went to the England international team and scored on his debut breaking a record in the process. He became the youngest player in history to score on England debut, surpassing Marcus Rashford's record. So incredible what this kid has managed to do. And I think what's most amazing, what amazed me the most was the fact that he seems really cool-headed guy, really level-headed. So I think he's very balanced from what I can see. Obviously, he enjoys playing and scoring and whatever else, but the fact that we have him, it's excellent. But on this topic, do you see his future in the left back position or in the left center mid?
I think that's an interesting question. It really depends on the tactics Arteta wants to employ. I mean, you kind of saw it for England where he was drifting into midfield a lot. I saw a basic compilation of all of his involvements in both games, and sort of 90% of what he was doing was actually from midfield. So Personally, I think Arteta might leave him at left back, but just utilize him as a player who can then drift into the middle and sit alongside the centre mid. Because I mean, it seems to be working for now. And with the kind of transfer plans for the summer, or at least what it sounds like we're looking to do, that kind of left mid position is probably going to be filled anyway. So I see no problem with him being a sort of utility left back.
Yeah, totally agree. And the thing is that he ticks a very, very important box for Mikel Arteta, which is versatility. Mikel really loves a versatile player, as we can all see. And I think the goal that he scored against Albania was, I mean, you don't expect a left back to be in that position, right? So I think you can see that a lot of his youth has played in midfield, so he has some traits there. But as Arsenal currently have a plethora of left back options, last summer we've spent above 40 million euros or pounds on Calafiori. So he played, I think, Italy against Germany, if I'm not mistaken, and he got a really weird injury. And we'll talk about his injury in a second. But I just wanted to kind of get your opinion on the fact, like, do you think the money spent on Calafiori were wasted? Do you think that someone at the club should have kind of raised some awareness around Miles Lewis-Kelly? I can't believe that, like he was like a regular player in the academy, and then he just blew up right into what he's become. So do you think someone should have said, hey, Mikel, listen, you have Zinchenko, you have Tierney, you have Timber, you have Tomiyasu, because obviously last year we didn't know that he's going to go through surgery and whatever else, right? So what do you think now, seeing Miles Lewis-Kelly and Calafiori? Do you think it was a waste of money? Do you think maybe we could have kept the money and invest better?
Tricky one. Like, I think at the time, if you said we were going into the season with our only left-back options being Kieran Tierney, who everyone expected to leave, Zinchenko, who had been really poor for a lot of the last season and injured. Tomiyasu, who barely played at all last season. You think, okay, no, we can't do this. Like, it's not a viable set of left backs to take into a season, and it cost us dearly in the last few seasons having these like cluster injuries. So having multiple players in the same position out injured. So I think signing a left back was a really sensible solution. Like, it was a sensible decision, regardless of what happened with Skelly. And I think even this season, we've had scenarios where Calafiori, Tierney, Tomiyasu, etc., have all been injured, which is why Lewis Skelly's in the position he's in anyway. So, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would have said, "Oh, we've spent 40 million on an actual like Xhaka replacement or a winger or whatever." But we saw it last year, we saw it the year before. If you don't have like that core like back four in place with decent rotation options or decent backup options in place, things can fall apart very quickly. So I don't have any issue with spending that money on Calafiori at all.
Yeah, that's a really good explanation of what happened. Although Calafiori is a little bit better in the attacking third, he's a more attacking left back from what I can see. So yeah, we'll see how everything falls into place. Calafiori's injury, I mean, it was very weird the way he fell on both his knees. Really awkward. You don't see that very often. And it's not the first time this happened to him. So basically, I read a couple of I don't know, news rumors or whatever it is. I don't know how specialists were the guys who mentioned this, but they said that after he had that huge injury, and I don't know, I think he got an operation as well. His knee structure is not as good, because you don't kind of expect from just a change of direction, because that's what he did, to both your knees to fall over and things like that. Do you think there's something to be, I don't know, worried about when you saw it?
I mean, it didn't look good, right? It looked like his left knee just sort of collapsed from under him. He didn't plant his left foot properly on the ground, and the knee just buckled basically sideways. So there's obviously a weakness there in his knee. That's probably not something that's going to go away. So it's something that our physio team are going to have to look at, and maybe strengthen the muscle around, or maybe change his running style or his turning style more accurately. But yeah, it's obviously a problem. I don't think it's been announced yet how long he's going to be out for, but yeah, it does. It does go with the theme of us having injury-prone left backs, at least. So he's fit right in that respect.
Yeah, right. But the fact that he wasn't, there was no timeline on his return or the extent of his injury, for me personally, it shows that maybe it's not that serious. Maybe it's something that it's just a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, and hopefully we'll have him back. But until now, we have Miles, who did an excellent job, and I think he can do an excellent job moving forward as well. So another player who just turned 18, I think last week or this week on the 23rd or 21st of March, is Ethan Nwaneri. That is good news, because he is eligible for a professional contract. And it's my understanding that, negotiations were underway to get a 5-year contract on improved terms, and well-deserved, I might add. And do you think that might be Andrea Berta's first contract or renewal? I mean, he still hasn't been announced officially as the sporting director, or whatever the name is. So what do you think?
I think it probably will be, just because of the timing. In terms of the priority, I would put securing Saliba as the most important thing we could possibly be doing right now. But yeah, Nwaneri is not far off, like the priority on the priority list of contract renewals, at least. So, put him second or third on that list. Yeah, I'd like to see that happen as soon as possible, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be a difficult discussion. It's pretty clear that Nwaneri's an Arsenal man through and through, and I would hope it's one of our easier negotiations, whereas it may be a little trickier with people like Saliba with Real Madrid and probably many others interested in acquiring him.
Yeah, and hopefully, so once he takes his role, Andrea Berta, if he hasn't already, he's gonna have some serious business to do to keep the core of players. But we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. Let's go through some other players. Odegaard. He had a nice international break. I think he was underwhelming maybe this season after the injury, I think after the ankle injury, and then the birth of his first baby. He was a little bit, I don't know, under par, a little bit more, in my opinion. So he did manage to register 4 assists. I haven't watched the games against Moldova and Israel. I just saw some highlights and some bits and pieces, and he had really good all around numbers. I saw something, very good, high percentage of passes completed, big chances created, key passes, and so on. With all due respect to Moldova and Israel, they're not the most impressive teams out there, but still, do you think there's a chance that, I mean, we can hope, but what do you think? Do you think he'll be able to continue his good run of form that he showed for the national team in the Prem and the Champions League?
Well, it's kind of two ways of looking at this. One is, he's playing against Moldova and Israel, right? Which, like you say, aren't really the strongest opposition. You'd expect a player like Odegaard to make a big impact in that kind of game. But then again, you can only, beat what's in front of you, right? So to put on that level of performance, regardless of the opposition, is always a good thing. So it's going to improve his confidence, if nothing else. I don't know. I think if you look at the team in general, there's a few players in there who are, really just on the edge of being at the level we want. And if you'd asked me this a year or two ago, I would say, Odegaard is absolutely at the level we want in terms of our first team starters. Now, having, he's dropped off a little over the last year or two. And we mentioned Nwaneri earlier. I can see Nwaneri replacing him as a centre attacking midfielder within, the next sort of 18 months as the starting attacking midfielder, because you just don't get the goal threat from Odegaard that we need. Like, creativity, absolutely great, but teams set up to block the middle of the pitch, so he can't do what he needs to do. But they also know that he's probably not going to shoot. Like, he's not going to take a pop shot from 25 yards, so they don't have to worry about that. They can just push him wide over and over, but, they'll give him a shooting angle, and they'll know he probably won't take it. You put Nwaneri in there, he's going to shoot, he's going to run at you, he's going to maybe not have quite his level of, passing range that Odegaard does, but he's going to cause a massive, problem for any defence. So I would love Odegaard to reach his absolute peak again. But I'm not sure if his peak is high enough for us anymore. I think the ceiling is raised, or if we're going to achieve what we need to achieve or want to achieve with winning the Premier League, winning the Champions League, we need to raise that ceiling more. And he's maybe just under the level of player that we need to do that. But what do you think? Do you think that's a fair assessment?
I think so. I'm all for, we paid 35 million for Odegaard. He's obviously worth much more. So I'm thinking and seeing him as a coup, right? He came from Real Madrid. The expectations were really high when he was really young, but it's true but something happened. I think prior to the ankle injury, he was a little bit more dynamic. He was a little bit more direct. Maybe Saka's absence as well was a very important factor. But again, you're thinking at the bigger picture and say you can't have if Saka doesn't play, Odegaard doesn't play well because he doesn't have with whom to play or to pass or whatever. So it's good that you have them two, right, passing and doing 1-2s and whatever else. But in the same time, my expectations are a little bit higher. Given he set those expectations, right, at the beginning, he had some really impressive displays. So now he kind of fell off, but I don't know, maybe he takes a lot of responsibilities on his shoulders, right? He saw we were lacking so many people, so many players in attack, and maybe he wants to do much more, but it doesn't come out, and he doesn't look good. He looks a little bit sketchy. I don't know. I think the Nwaneri part, yeah, it's a good idea to try him in that position as well. He's hungry, he's very young. He wants to prove himself, and he showed that he can do it on the big stage. I think we were also interested in January in. I don't remember. I think it's the Norwegian young player, 18-year-old. I think Nipan was his family name. But maybe we can bring him also during the summer transfer window, because he was interested. He visited cities, training facilities, and whatever else. And Arsenal, I think, I don't know, maybe they put a bid in, or maybe they discussed, but he decided to stay for 6 more months. So we definitely, it's definitely an area that needs improvement, right? And
I don't think Nipan improves us that much. I think we're still in this mentality. Some of the fans, at least, and maybe the managers and the decision makers, that maybe we can achieve a Premier League win by buying a basically untested 20-year-old who's shown some promise. Whereas if you look at the teams we're up against, and your Liverpool's, your Chelsea's, Chelsea are going to be much stronger next season. Man City, if they're not relegated, will be much stronger next season. For the those are the kind of teams we're playing against in the Premier League. They don't have many sort of untested 20-year-olds in and around their team, right? They have world-class stars all over the place. We're not in a position where we should be buying a 20-year-old and hoping for the best. We should be in a position where we're buying a sort of 27-year-old, 28-year-old in the prime, or about to be in the prime of their career, who proven at Champions League level. And if we are actually serious about winning the Premier League and the Champions League, that's what we've got to do. I don't see any other way to get to that level. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And while you were saying that, I was thinking that now with Andrea Berta's appointment, he might not be like this player Nipan might not be on the priority list. It might not be even on any list, right? Because everyone comes with its own list of contacts and players that he likes. And I already saw some players that were, kind of connected to him, and the rumors were like he's looking at this player and this player, players that we haven't been discussed that they might join Arsenal. But you mentioned something interesting, that players will allow Odegaard, or will show him a way to shoot towards goal, because they know he won't do it. But I think that's valid for the whole team. I was screaming in front of the TV, and I was just wondering. I've spoken about this in my other podcasts. Like, we have a coach for set pieces, right? He did very well for a period of time, but why don't we have a coach for shooting a little bit from range, not from the middle of the pitch, but from outside the box, the 16-yard box?
I will tell you exactly why. It's because every opponent that we come up against that has prepared properly for us does exactly what I said with the Odegaard situation, and packs the middle of the pitch with so many players that we don't have the opportunity to shoot from that range. Go back and watch any game this season. Pick any of them, doesn't matter. If Arsenal have had the ball for more than 10 seconds, there's at least 4 people within just outside the penalty area in that central position, always, without fail, because they know that that's going to be effective against us. And it's even more effective now that we don't have Havertz, right? So they force us wide. We don't have Havertz to cross to. We don't have Saka to cut in and shoot. The only luck we've had really there has been Nwaneri cutting in and shooting. Fine. That kind of bypasses the tactic they've got in place a little. But yeah, you don't get the opportunity. We don't get the opportunity to shoot from that danger zone just outside of the penalty area in the center of the pitch. It just doesn't happen because teams don't let us do that.
Yeah. But did you notice, Joe, even when we had a couple of free kicks right outside the box, the shots are not what they're supposed to be. Like when we had, Van Persie, or we had Cazorla, or those players, you were excited and you were looking. And when I'm looking at a free kick from outside the box, I know they're gonna hit the wall or just try something new. It's like they're scared of shooting. I don't know. Maybe it's from directions. Maybe it's from coaching. Maybe it's from tactics.
It's definitely tactical. Like Arteta works on these kind of like probability approach, right? Where he wants the highest probability chance of scoring. So he wants to create scenarios where there's a very high possibility of scoring. And free kicks from outside the box are fairly low in terms of conversion rate. Like if you go look at the XG percentages of 30-yard free kick, etc., like it just doesn't happen. So he probably just doesn't train the players to shoot from free kicks, because he's like, okay, well actually if we cross the ball in, there's more chance of a shot and then maybe a deflection, or the goalkeeper spills it and then we get a tap in, or whatever. It's all based on probability, and that's just how Arteta is. He's not going to change. So whatever gives us as a team the most chance of scoring, that's what he's going to go for. And I'm pretty sure he will never go with, hey, let's shoot from every free kick within 30, 35 yards, because that just goes against his entire ethos.
Yeah, perfectly agree with that. Just curious, what do you think? Because for me, like if you have a Martinelli or a Trossard or Odegaard or whoever, Rice, even Partey, if they shoot from outside, I'm not talking like again very far off the goal, but in a central or a little bit wide of the 16-yard box, if you shoot again, you can get a deflection, you can get a corner, you can get the keeper, like how Sanchez, right, the keeper, the Chelsea's keeper, he was so insecure, and he should have been bombarded with shots and everything. You had a shot, you had a chance. What's your opinion? Do you agree with Arteta's probability way of trying to score, or would you encourage shooting more from outside the box?
It's tricky. So Arteta's all about control and controlling every phase of play. If you shoot from your free kick, there's a good chance you hit the wall, for example, at which point you're probably out of control of the ball. There's a good chance you fire it over the bar, then the possession goes to the other team. So I can understand the approach. I'm not sure I always agree with it. I think we try and be so much in control that when we do lose possession, the other team almost invariably will score if we're in these really high pressure scenarios where we're all up the pitch and there's 10 players around their box and Raya's basically on the halfway line as a sweeper, and then we lose possession. We're terrible at transitioning backwards. Like the amount of times where teams have scored from their first shot against us, which has come on the break. So I can understand why he doesn't want to lose the ball by shooting, but at the same time you've got to roll the dice, right? If you don't shoot, you're not going to score, and you don't win a football match by not scoring and controlling the ball. If we won a football match by having high percentage possession, we'd be one of the best teams in the world. But that's not how it works to score. So I think it depends on the game state. Like if you're 1-0 up and you've got decent control of the game and everything's kind of going your way, have a go. If you're 2-0 down with 20 minutes left, sure, have a go, why not? But if it's a tight game and you just don't want to lose the ball, then maybe it is a good idea to put a cross in, create a bit of chaos, have maybe a bit more chance of scoring. It really depends. But I guess I'm I guess I'm generally in agreement because I think he makes decisions at the right moments depending on the state of the game. What do you think?
Yeah, but I do agree. He's really smart, and he's really I'm in agreement that he moved Arsenal forward all these years, but I would still encourage a little bit of freedom. I always say it impressed me so much. Thierry Henry was on a YouTube, I think, short clip, and he was asked a long time ago. He was asked about his period at Barcelona under Pep, and he said that Pep Guardiola was very, very strict in his tactics and his way of playing in defense and in midfield. In the final third, he said that's where players thrive, and he had obviously a lot of talent to his disposal. So he said, once you get to the final third, express yourself. I don't think with Arsenal, I think Arteta's style is to control every aspect, as you mentioned, including attack, right? So you can see, and I wanted to talk about Martinelli as well a little bit. So let's finish up a little bit on the players that have been on international break. You mentioned Havertz as a focal point, right, as a striker, but now we have Marino, who is a tall guy, left-footed, and he came up as a substitute in the 80 something minute and helped Spain to a draw with Netherlands, right? He scored a 2 goal. And then he came on as a substitute and scored a penalty in the penalty shootout. Does that mean that Marino maybe it's a better idea to bring him off the bench now that we have Martinelli available? What do you think?
It really depends on the opposition as to who I would start up front and how I would approach things. I mean, Marino's a great option if you've just got to throw balls into the box and try and score a header, right? Or what's happened. He's shown himself to be incredibly good when it comes to, sort of fox in the box style of football where the ball's bobbling around all over the place. He's got a lot of composure. He's a really, really composed player. But are you suggesting that we play Martinelli up front?
Martinelli or Trossard. Trossard, I think he's a really moody player. I used to think that he's a really powerful impact player off the bench. That's where he had his best games and his best numbers for Arsenal, yeah. Right? But now, having this injury crisis that we obviously have, you can play a front three of Nwaneri, Martinelli, and Trossard. They should be more than capable. I don't know if they match Arteta's vision of having a big player up top who can link up play and that you can do some combinations with. So the front three of Nwaneri, Martinelli, and Trossard, they're quick. They're tricky players. They're technical players, but their height is not an advantage, right? So sometimes in some games I'm thinking, listen, they're on their positions, Martinelli on the left, maybe Trossard on the middle, Nwaneri. I'm of the opinion that they should interchange more. They never interchange. Even when Saka was fit and available, he never interchanged with Martinelli, because if you have players doubling up on Saka on the right-hand side, right, why don't you try a couple of minutes, 10, 15 minutes, move him on the left and Martinelli on the right? Create a little bit of chaos, as you mentioned, but that never happened. So if it would be to play a fixed front three, it should be, in my opinion, Martinelli on the left, where he operates like, I think he's the best on the left, Trossard in the middle and Nwaneri on the right,
Yeah, It's a tricky one. I think having a very short central striker is not great. Having Trossard, who played, I would say, pretty similarly to Odegaard in terms of style, and having them sort of stepping on each other's toes again doesn't really help us that much. I'd kind of be inclined to put Trossard on the left and put Martinelli in the box, because Martinelli's heading is actually really good. We don't see it often because he's not usually there. But I remember from years back where he's scored a bunch of headers one season, including a really impressive one from a tight angle. I forget who it was against. I don't know. It's tough. Like, the overall problem here is that I don't think really any of these players that we're mentioning in your Martinellis are quite at the level again that we would want them to be in our starting 11. Like, Martinelli's had a pretty rough couple of seasons now, and I love Martinelli. I think he's an amazing player, but I just don't have the confidence that he's at the level we need. He's certainly nowhere near Saka's level, for example, right? Like, Saka is at the level I would want to see our wingers, or close enough to Saka. I think there's a massive discrepancy in ability between Saka and Martinelli. People up on the side, and they let Martinelli kind of do what he wants. That works, right? Because he's not scoring those sort of cut in, corner far post goals anymore. Like, he hasn't done that in a long time. He doesn't look at all in front of goal. He's not really creating a huge amount. Obviously, now he's just come back from injury. Maybe a rest was good for him. I don't know, but I see him as a very good impact sub, you say, and then with Trossard as well, like. He's an impact sub. Like, we don't. Well, I personally don't think either of those two should be starting for us. Definitely not next season. I think it's. I just don't think we have the options in the front three, even before the injuries, that we would need to be like properly challenging. Like, even if we had our full squad available, I would be going into this Real Madrid game thinking there's really not much chance we're going to win this game. And without, a Havertz and potentially without a Saka and whoever else happens to get injured between now and then, it just really lowers the odds.
Yeah. I think if Saka plays, it decreases the odds. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. I 100% believe that Merino will continue up front, and Arteta will play Trossard and Martinelli and Nwaneri. He's gonna start playing a little bit less Nwaneri, since he's not fully developed and physically, so he had some cramps and some problems. So he'll probably start him and play him for 50-60 minutes, or he'll bring him as a sub. And it's good to have Nwaneri as a sub. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, we'll see how it goes, how it moves forward. The rest of the players, Partey scored a couple of goals. Rice played very well in a number 6 for England, and he had a couple of assists to a player that we better not mention. The rest, the only one that I want to mention was that Timber was unwell. And I think that's a good thing, because this guy, the amount of games he played after coming back from an ACL and the level of consistency that he showed was just unreal. But I'm really glad that he got some rest. And I do believe, we're gonna resume the Premier League with games against Fulham and Everton. I do believe he'll have to be rested in those games. Maybe come on as a sub, or play him from the beginning, but play him for 50-60 minutes, and then bring Ben White into the fold. But yeah, Timber didn't play, so hopefully he's going to be fresh. Just a quick question regarding Timber and White, and you probably know what I'm going to ask, but maybe we'll do a pod preview on the Madrid game. But Do you think there is any chance that you would play White as a right back and Timber as a left back instead of playing Timber right back and MLS as a left back? Any chance at all?
The way I see it with our left back and right back options, let's assume, it's Calafiori and Miles Lewis-Skelly on the left, and it's Timber and White on the right. I think they kind of pair up in a way. So Timber's a kind of player who will drift into the midfield, whereas White is more of an overlapping player with Saka. And then you could say the same about Calafiori as a player who would overlap Martinelli on the left, whereas Miles Lewis-Skelly drifts into the midfield. What I don't think you can do is have two players who are going to naturally drift into the midfield on the pitch necessarily. So having Timber and Miles Lewis-Skelly doesn't really make that much sense to me. I think we'd actually be more effective with Miles Lewis-Skelly on the left, White providing that kind of additional support to Saka, so it frees up Odegaard a little, because Odegaard's been playing so far over to the right when White's been out, because Saka just hasn't had that support. So I think if we want to get the best out of Saka, then you put White on the pitch, which means you then have to have Lewis-Skelly on the pitch to come into midfield. I hope he's fit enough to play. If he's not, then I guess you change things up and maybe have Timber there, a bit more defensive. I'm not sure, but I really love Timber. I think he's an incredible player, but I do think White really enables Saka to, he frees up his space essentially. So if White is overlapping, Saka has space to then cut in and shoot, or because they're focusing on Saka, White has the ability to put in a cross or go to the byline and cut the ball back. You don't see that so much with Timber. He's a better defender, absolutely. But if we want to score, I would want to see White on the pitch and then Skelly in the midfield to kind of shore things up for counter attacks.
Yeah. And obviously White has been out for a long time, so I think he needs to get eased in. He needs a little bit of to regain some fitness and some game time until he'll be at his best. Maybe right in time for Saka's return as well. You did manage, so that's kind of it on the international break. Glad it's finished. I'm sad for Calafiori, but hopefully it's not something too serious. From what I can hear and read and check the news, there's not a lot of there's no injuries. Everybody comes back in good shape, hopefully. So you mentioned at the beginning when we were talking about Nwaneri's contract and that you mentioned that you want Saliba to be priority number one. What do you think about Saudi Arabia's interest in Gabriel? He, as you know, last year he had a kind of soap opera with the Saudi Arabia teams, and Arteta left him out of some games. I don't know if it was for kind of a punishment, or maybe he let him negotiate or come to his senses. I don't know exactly why, but it seems like the rumors come in that they're going to come with a big bid for Gabriel. I think Gabriel is 27 years old, which is kind of the peak, like the top level for defenders, if I'm not mistaken. So what do you think, Saliba or Gabriel first? I know both together, but what are your thoughts?
I think I think everyone has their price, right? If a Saudi Arabian team came in and said, we'll give you £200 million for Gabriel, I would absolutely take it. But that's probably nowhere near the figure that we're discussing here. I think as a unit, there's probably no better centre-back pairing in the world. I may be a little biased, obviously, but I think even statistically, it's got to be, between them and I don't know, maybe the Inter centre backs, maybe Liverpool's, not sure, but they're definitely as a pairing up there as peak world class centre backs. If we did lose Gabriel, I think that would affect Saliba quite considerably. We'd have to find a really, really strong replacement. And I don't know if anyone would even be available for that. Like, you're not going to get a Van Dijk or anyone of that caliber, you wouldn't have thought, without probably spending all of the money you've just got from Saudi. So for me, it would be a waste of time to be selling Gabriel. If he really wants to go, then fine, but I don't see why any top level Premier League player, like you say, at the peak of their career would want to move to a lesser league, right? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, the salary that the guys were kind of rumoring was 30 million per year, so that might be a good reason. I understand, but I come back to what you said. You said that Nipan wouldn't get us to the next level because he's still young, and we still need time for him to get developed and get up to par with the Premier League and whatever else. And you're right. However, I think it's the same applies. You said, listen, we need to bring in 27, 28-year-old Champions League proven players. Perfectly right, and totally agree with that. However, if you get okay, I'm not thinking, because nobody's going to pay 200 million for Gabriel, right? But in the same time, I wouldn't sell, like, next season is the season where it's I don't know, do or die. It has to happen, something. We have to win, I think, one of the big trophies, and in order for that to be achieved, we need to keep our core players. In my opinion, the core players are, Raya, Gabriel, Saliba, Rice, Odegaard, Saka. That's kind of the spine of the team. I know Odegaard had a bad season. I would still put my confidence and hope that there's still a player in there. I don't want to believe that Odegaard has peaked. I don't want to believe that Martinelli has peaked. I want to believe that it had to do with injuries. I want to believe that maybe a loss of form, maybe the injury that he suffered on his ankle, Martinelli as well with his hamstring because of his explosiveness and so on. But I think it's critical to keep the core players at the club in order for us to push forward. You need to improve that. You need to bring in a quality striker. You need to bring in a quality winger, someone in midfield. I would even give an extension to Partey, because I think this season he had his fair share of mistakes. I'm not gonna put that under the rug, but I think he was top, right? Yeah, so
I'm not sure I agree on the Partey point. I think a couple of years ago I would have put him as one of our absolute core players. But as I kind of mentioned earlier, most of the goals we concede are in transition, right? From us attacking to them counter-attacking. And Partey is almost always in the wrong place. And he puts up that pressure, like additional pressure on Gabriel and Saliba. You can, like, 3 out of 4 goals we concede on the counter attack, you can point your finger directly at Partey, and it's just not good enough for me. He's one of the first players I'd be replacing. Obviously there's many other issues with Partey potentially, but purely in footballing terms, I just don't think he's a good enough sort of transitional defensive midfielder. I'd rather play Rice there. Rice does a much better job of that kind of sweep up, backtracking, backwards defending. And Saliba's incredible at it as well, which is great, obviously in a deeper position. But yeah, I think Partey's cost us so many goals, and it's not immediately obvious until you watch it back, and it almost always stems from him being in the wrong position, always.
He wasn't in the core of players. I just was thinking that we might give him a 1 year extension and use him as a sub. Obviously, we have a lot of, or not a lot, but a couple of players we're linked with that might come in midfield and might be an upgrade. But maybe he would do a job for 1 more year. I'm not sure about it. But no, he's not in my core group of core players. I would definitely love to see Kimmich join in on a free transfer again, maybe as a backup, maybe as a starter. He's very versatile and a ton of Champions League experience. From my perspective, and maybe we'll speak about this in another pod, but going quickly through it, I think that a formation of 4-2-3-1 might suit better Arsenal than 4-3-3. As my honest opinion, I would put the two defensive midfielders as Rice and Partey or someone else. Odegaard in front of them, on the right, Saka on the left, Martinelli up top, a striker, whether it's Havertz or someone else. I think with two defensive midfielders or kind of a box-to-box midfielders, it would be more... Rice obviously thrives in that role, in that sixth position. Arteta keeps pushing him in an 8 position. He might be good in an 8. I see him as a better 6. Miles Lewis-Kelly can be an excellent 8 as well if we give him a little bit of game time there. But yeah. I would keep definitely like a core of players and try to improve and add on top of this. What's certain is that Andrea Berta has he has a lot of things to do, and I think after he gets appointed officially, I'm expecting to see something happening, some movement, whether it's on the renewal front. Although at this moment in time, I think the renewal might be a little bit easier if we go past Real Madrid. I know there's a very, very, very slim chance of that happening, but I think you're better in negotiation if you beat like Real Madrid, who's looking to get Saliba, right? It might be like a statement instead of going out and keep increasing everybody's salary just to keep them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big if being Real Madrid. Although what I will say is I think we've got a better chance of beating Real Madrid than Atletico. I was actually pretty happy when Real Madrid went through in that very dubious penalty shootout win. Because, like I said earlier, we really struggle against those teams that kind of block everything in the middle and force us out wide. And that's exactly what Atletico do. If we end up under pressure almost from Real Madrid, like I said, we got probably the best centre-back pairing in the world. Like, we're really, really well organised. We can create that kind of low mid-block or, however we need to set up against them. And then we can kind of spring that counter-attack, which is where players like, having Martinelli on the pitch and having Trossard on the pitch and hopefully having Saka on the pitch, that's where we get our goal. You wouldn't be able to counter-attack against Atletico Madrid. They just don't let you do that. So, yeah, I think there's a bit of a chance, and you're right, it does change things to an extent. But I just hope people or the players can see, whilst we've stalled a little this year, there's obviously the ambition, especially with getting Berta in, who's probably going to want to make a kind of statement signing, right, as soon as he comes in. I hope so, and I hope it's Zubamendi. I really hope they can see that we're going to move forward, and I think, like you say, next year is really do or die. So we really need to show ambition, and if we do show ambition by maybe getting some contract renewals in, and then maybe making a big signing or two, or hopefully three, and then maybe more contract renewals come in because the players see, oh, they're investing in the team. Excellent. Because it's felt like limbo for the last 3 years. Second place. We just miss out against Man City. We miss out against Man City again. We miss out against Liverpool in arguably probably the easiest of the 3 seasons. We've fallen further away. Next season, we have to be there next season. Have to.
Yeah, and I'm an optimistic guy, so I believe it will be. I believe it will happen, but we just we need exactly what you said. This guy comes in and makes some statements, renew some contracts. We don't have to sell any of the the big players. We just have to convince them to stay one more year and show their worth. So more than they already did. So I don't know. I think it's a good point to stop. We went through the international break, games and a couple of players. Obviously, there's less than 1 week until our game against Fulham, then Everton, and then Real Madrid. Maybe we can join in for a podcast to preview the Real Madrid game. Maybe we'll have some more information on Saka, then if he comes in as a sub against Fulham for 5-10 minutes, against Everton for 10-15 minutes. So we'll see what happens. We'll see, but we're happy. I'm happy that Arsenal are back. They're playing next week. I think there's 7 or 8 games in 26 days or something insane like that. So that's a lot of Arsenal, a lot of time to be happy or rage or whatever. So one more mention. Tonight there's the Arsenal women's team. They're playing against Real Madrid. They lost 2-0 in the first leg. Maybe that's another reason for our men's team to step up and issue some revenge on that. But fingers crossed and everything else that they can turn back the result and move forward. So good luck to the Arsenal women team. And thank you so much, Joe, for joining in. It was really nice to talk to you about Arsenal, and hopefully we can do that in the future again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'd be glad to come back. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and wishing everybody an excellent rest of the week. Cheers, guys.